Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll build our own little community in here. Some creatures on the planet I've seen in Vrindavan at Govardhan during the Kartik season start a community at night, and by the morning time they're all done. The little bugs, and they have community. We have California, many different animals that teach us so much. The squirrels have their community. And everywhere there's a sense with birds that they should stick together. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Only one person noticed? Have you noticed that birds stick together?
Yes.
Okay, I was just hoping I wasn't seeing things.
Birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather, I would say that, but it sounds cliche.
Yes.
But it's true, they have their own communities. And we had a little bird just outside our room at the VA. She was trying to start her own little community there. It didn't work out. The egg didn't hatch. So today we're going to start off. You need more volume? More volume, please. We need a technical expert at the front or wherever it is to turn up the volume. Navina knows everything. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Pritu Prabhu, is that better? Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just one small request, if there's any jal. I need jal lagve. If any Bengalis in here, I need water. If you have any somewhere. Thank you very much. So today we'll start with a bhajan, if you can accommodate, because we've handed out a QR code. If you scan it really quick, you can find a bhajan book inside, and we have a few bhajans. Can you do that? Have you received the code? You're doing it now. Okay. So the first step to anything is hearing and chanting. And the melodious sounds from the spiritual world attract the hearts of people to come together. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata. They enter into the ear and then into the heart. And there's a transformation that takes place that allows us to live together and to cooperate to some degree. And the main stabilizing force and even the genesis to any community is hearing and chanting. How many of you resonate with that idea? Okay, so if you want to restart the Hare Krishna movement at any time, what would you do? Chant Hare Krishna. And teach others. So this is a simple principle when we are wondering, when we wonder what to do and how to manifest our spiritual desires. The simple process is to hear and chant. And generally when you create a space and invite other people to come in and hear and chant with you, then it starts the process of community building, as people will gravitate towards the sound vibration and they'll feel that they're improving themselves. They're being improved, in fact. I can use the passive voice, because there's a way in which the sound acts upon us and makes us feel pure. What do you think? Okay, so let's start with a bhajan. It's called Sri Nam, and it starts off with Gai Gauram Adusvare. Shall we?
Yeah, page 6.
Okay, 3 people said yes. Everybody else cover your ears while we sing. What page?
61.
Page 61 in your songbook, which is available if you can't scan the QR code. Page 61 in the songbook. And to start our community, if you don't have it, and you see somebody near you that doesn't have it, could you share? How many of you don't have it? Okay, look around you and see somebody that you can share with. And this is a principle of creating a beautiful space anywhere you go, is to make sure that those don't have it yet have it. And if everyone takes responsibility for that, then it becomes a very conducive atmosphere. Raise your hand again if you don't have it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those who do have it, can you share? Leave one here. Okay, Prabhu, we'll start. Nangai Gaura Madhushvare Nangai Nangai Gaura Madhushvare Nangai Gaura Madhushvare. Need a certified cartoonist, please? Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, sounds great. You're doing great. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh. A little more. Rama Rama, Nam Jai, Gauram Madhusare. Lord Chaitanya chants in a very sweet voice. Grihe tako, bane tako, Sarahari bole tako. Everyone. Grihe tako, bane tako, Sarahari bole tako. Sukte dhukte bhulo nako, varne hari naam koro re. So here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the first instruction. Wherever you are, you can start in a small room, like Prabhupada did, in Vrindavan. And he started writing down all his realizations and bringing to life the Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the Srimad Bhagavatam. In America, the first building owned by ISKCON was a broken down old place on Beacon Street in Boston. Narayan Prabhu had to fly out from California to Boston to reinforce the floor so he could put in a printing press. It was too heavy for the old building. And the vibration went on there. And everywhere that the vibration went on, Sada Hari Boli Thako, chanting Hare Krishna, no matter what the situation. Gradually, more people came, resources flowed in the door, and now we're sitting here all together because of that vibration that started in Prabhupada's little room in Vrindavan and then spread all over the world. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Maya jalle bhadda hoye acho biche kajloye Maya jalle bhadda hoye Tono chetana te Radha Madhav Nam bolo re bolo Nam Jai Gaura Maheshware Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns us that the material world is like a net, and once we get caught in it, there's no way out except with one single process of worshipping Shri Shri Radha Madhav. Tasmad ekena manasa bhāgyavān satam gati shrotavya kirtitavyascha geya pujas sanityaja. After all the best minds and the highest sages in the universe gathered at Naimisharanya, and they asked Sutta Goswami, what's the one single answer? And he said, one pointed attention on hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord is the solution for all of life's problems and progress, and going back home, back to Godhead. Any home, any van that's driving around the country, any little temple, medium temple, large temple that has this center in their lives, which is that hearing and chanting is the genesis of all good fortune and the way to solve all problems and the way to come to the perfection of life, has the ultimate solution to everything. Jai Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nam Jai try to get the top chord next time. Here we go. One more time. Thakur Bhakti Vinoru Parishekvana Rante Nadore Thakur Bhakti Vinoru Thakur conceived of the ways in which devotees could develop community all over the world by coming together for the enterprise of spreading the holy name. He charted it out how every home could become a distribution center. People could come pay the little bit of faith, then they could take out the product and share it with others. And when someone else took, they would get a commission. In this way, the precursor to Amway was discovered 150 years before it was founded. And this is the binding factor in any community, that there's a sense that we're working together for a common cause. We have a mission together to do something worthwhile. Sometimes big corporations, they'll have a meeting like this in a big hall, and they'll tell everyone, the drains we sell for kitchens are the best in the world. The toothpaste we have, after all, we're the ones who invented stripes that go in toothpaste. This is the most important. We are on a mission to give everyone a better smile. But the smile always fades with these temporary solutions. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the great Vaishnavas have the real product. And when we bring everyone together and give them a stake in it, that not only do you get to sit and take this supreme transcendental vibration, but you can go and give it to everybody else. Then the community grows. Nam Hai So what's the first principle in community building, would you say? Chant Hare Krishna. Teach others. There's so many Hari Hari Bol to you. Look at, watch. This is enthusiasm over here. Hare Krishna. Give her a hand. That's not a hand, that's nothing. Come on. Now, based on that, what do you think the second principle is? Encouragement. Everybody needs encouragement. The world is a discouraging place, true or false? True. It's very discouraging. There's a way in which you can be our first recruiter. Here's how to call. It actually is very encouraging, but until one develops a sense for the support that we're getting from Krishna at every minute, it feels as if I'm under assault. I mean, after all, I'm born into a world, and then I'm told soon afterwards that you're going to have to exit soon, and we're not sure if it's going to be a bumpy ride or not. We can't guarantee anything. And meanwhile, there's a lot to do to catch up, because coming out of the womb, one has extreme jet lag. That's why babies sleep so much. They traveled from one universe to another, probably. Brahmāṇḍa, bhramite, kona, bhāgyavān, jīva, they come out. It's like, I don't know where I am, but I'm going to sleep it off. Maybe wake up when I got some teeth. It's hard. It's a hard world, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, from top to bottom. And people need encouragement. And this is the whole purpose of Krishna speaking to Brahma. In fact, we have it in the Gayatri Mantra, the word prachodayat. It comes from the root word chud, which means to inspire. And pra is an intensifier. It means really inspire people. The word encourage comes from a French word cor, which means the heart. And if you've ever heard the term disheartenment, disheartened, your heart's not into it. And in fact, the word shraddha, shrad means the heart, and da is an active verb. It means where you place something. And when the heart is affected, then our lives are affected, and it's hard for us to move. It's hard for us to walk up the stairs, hard to pick up a bead bag. So when we have a culture of encouragement, when we see a spark, we can fan it. It's known as fan the spark. And everyone is an eternal part of Krishna and has a relationship with him. It's not bad being human, actually, right? You like being human? Say yes, really fast for that one. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says he really likes humans. So if you were having a down day, you can cheer up because Krishna likes you. Humans have so much potential. We have so much potential as humans, but we can forget our potential. There's a special verse in the Bhagavatam, which I'll read to you because, and I just happen to have it right here.
On the table.
Thank you. It says, the devotees of the Lord constantly discuss the glories of the personality of Godhead amongst themselves. Thus they constantly remember the Lord and remind one another of his qualities and pastimes. In this way, by their devotion to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the devotees please the personality of Godhead, who takes away from them everything inauspicious. Being purified of all impediments, the devotees awaken to pure love of Godhead. And thus, even within this world, their spiritualized bodies exhibit symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, such as standing with the bodily hairs on end. So, I always appreciate Krishna's mood of encouragement, especially when he's encouraging Brahma. At the very beginning of creation, Brahma has a big task, and Krishna not only empowers him, but then he shakes his hand and he says to him, bhramāṇḍa. Everyone say, bhramāṇḍa. Now, you got the part about shaking hands, right? Here. People love to shake hands. It's a sign that you're reaching out. In fact, when we go out for book distribution, one of the first things we do is one of these. People can't resist. Watch. You can't resist. If I go to anybody, and sometimes people all the way across the street, you're like, hi, and then you go like this, and they'll cross through traffic, almost get hit by a taxi, just to get over, like, fist bump, because they feel like, oh, somebody wants to make contact with me. It's so rare that anybody actually reaches out to touch them. And people are living in isolation, and then they absorb themselves into a little screen. They're scrolling and scrolling. This is my smartphone. Scrolling and scrolling. And so when there's actually somebody who cares about them, Krishna actually cared about Brahma enough to tell him how to do his service, and then to tell him, you know, you can do this. You can do this, to encourage him. It's a scary point when you actually have to step in and do something. Oftentimes that's why people take to diversions and procrastinate, because they're afraid that maybe I won't perform well enough, and I won't look good, maybe I'm not able to do it. So it's important to hear from those who have experienced Krishna's touch in their lives and who have been encouraged from within by Krishna, and they've seen that if you give your life to Krishna, if you actually just take that risk, I'm just going to do service for Krishna with nothing in return, and they see that the reciprocation is unlimited, and they're living in that understanding from moment to moment that Krishna is protecting me, then such persons, then also they feel that they want to encourage others. Shyamasundar, 1967, Shyamasundar, a great world treasure we have who still walks the earth, just celebrated his 80th birthday party recently. And when he first joined the movement, the law had caught up to him, because before he had joined, he was engaged in a few activities that were illegal. And so he had to go to court, and then the court sentenced him to jail. And he had already met Prabhupada, and then he had to call Prabhupada up after he had started this relationship as a servant of Prabhupada, and he was looking forward to his life of bliss and freedom, and now he had to go to jail. So he called Prabhupada up from the jail and said, Prabhupada, I have to stay in jail for a while. And Prabhupada said, oh, well, Krishna was born in jail. And he said, well, what did you do? And he said, I was selling drugs. And Prabhupada said, I used to sell drugs. Prabhupada could have said so many things, but that's what he said. And when Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to the sages, he just listed off a whole bunch of communities all over the world that are considered unqualified by most people in the culture. Kirata Hunanda Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumba Yavana Kasadaya Yenecha Papayara Pashraya Shaya Shudyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave. He gave long list of people who are considered untouchable, outcasts. They'll never be worth anything to those elite in society. And he said, these people, these are our people. These people can rise by this process of devotional service. Just by being in the vibration of the pure devotees, they can rise too. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he found out that Vasudeva, the leper, how did he find out? He's omniscient. Vasudeva had come to see him in Kurukshetra. He was a leper. His skin was infected by little worms. When one would fall out, he'd put it back in because he felt sorry for it. And by the time he got to Kurukshetra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left. And he fell down in a faint, in separation. Mahaprabhu turned around, came all the way back, and he embraced him and revived his life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shukadeva Goswami, Krishna himself, Srila Prabhupada, the representative of Krishna, they're all in the business of encouraging others. So in a situation, any situation, when we take the time to encourage others, we'll also feel encouraged. Because when you get in that business, it's good work if you can get it. Like if you're filling out your immigration form, or those little forms on the airplane when they ask you what your occupation is, when you're coming into the next country, what do you guys put? I never know what to put. I sat there once for an hour, it's like, what am I going to write? That doesn't sound right. But if you put encourager, and then you get to the thing, here you go, what's an encourager? Well, sir, you look very nice today, actually. And I noticed how efficient you are at stamping these things. And like, well, thank you very much. In fact, a little prasadam goes a long way. You give somebody like that a lollipop or a cookie, and it's like they're sitting there in the driest place in the universe, stamping things, breathing air with all kinds of bugs in it, and somebody comes along and gives them an encouraging word, and suddenly they feel satisfied and happy. Their life's okay. It doesn't take much to turn somebody's heart around. And so the devotional community is a place, it can be any place where somebody's feeling the encouragement of Krishna, him or herself, and therefore reaches out to encourage other people. And that becomes their main occupation. And that's what we do when we go out on Harinam Sankirtan. That's what we do when we go door to door. We just knock on people's doors. You in there? Come on, open up. We got stuff for you out here. They open the door and they see people out there that are actually happy because they're hearing and chanting. And then because of that, they become inspired, like, I don't know what it is, but I'll take some of it. I'd like to do this. And it catches fire. It goes from one person to the next. So the purpose, or the mainstay of the community, is hearing and chanting and sharing encouragement with others. What do you think? Are you buying all this? Yes. Yeah? Okay, then turn to somebody next to you and encourage the heck out of them. 1, 2, 3, go. Come on, everybody. Don't hold back. Turn to anybody. Turn to the cameraman here and tell me he's doing a good job. Prabhu? All right. No more encouraging. Stop. Don't you hate that? When people encourage you like that, ruins your whole day, right? Yeah. Somebody comes out of their way, pop their head in the door and say, you know what? You inspire me. You're doing a great job. What does that do to the heart? We're a volunteer organization. Everyone's volunteering here and there. And if somebody comes along and notices them and just gives them a little encouragement, appreciation appreciates. Whatever you appreciate, appreciate. It grows in value. And whatever you appreciate, when you see good qualities in someone else and you appreciate them, they become part of you. That becomes you. And so the community means a place where people are free. They're open-hearted. They're free to encourage other people. And it's all based on their personal experience. They're hearing and chanting and they're feeling, oh, I'm so happy because I don't want anything else except for the sound vibration. When we have that, then we have the foundation to a community. When everyone's satisfied by hearing and chanting together. And together means that we have an environment where everyone can share. So let's try that and see how it goes. You can share some realization that you've had recently. If anybody's had a realization that popped through when you were least expecting it, and it kind of inspired you, you can share it. Do we have an extra mic? Could an expert grab it? If we have somebody who's really good at getting the mic out. Okay, did you have your hand up? Work with me, people.
I have one.
Okay.
I don't want to leave you hanging.
Okay.
Testing. Can you hear? Everyone hear?
Yes.
Okay. So the realization that came was that if you chant all your 16 rounds at the same time, you'll begin to get taste. Huh? Because otherwise, if you're chanting 4 rounds, 8 o'clock, another 3 at 9 o'clock, 2 at 11 o'clock. You have to chant your rounds all at once in one while. I don't know what Prabhupada said about this, but I just say what happened with my realization a few years ago. If you chant all your 16 at once, you begin to get taste.
Haribol. That's it? That's all? No. What if you took that advice? What if you said, okay, from now on I'll chant them all at once? What would it be like? Well, it would be like, I had a relative once, and we had to go over and visit, and he was watching a football game, American football, and he was so tied to the television and so emotional about everything that happened. And I asked him later, what got into you? And it's just a football game. He goes, I bet on it. And the difference between hearing advice like that and then saying, okay, I'll do that. That's the difference between just sitting there and watching something passively and betting on it. Once Prabhupada said there's 4 regular principles and there's a replacement for all of them. You want to know what the replacement for gambling is?
Yes.
Okay, 6 people want to know. Everybody else cover your ears. It's surrendering to Krishna. Krishna, I'm surrendering right now, that's it. And it's like, ooh, what's going to happen now? That's what makes life exciting. Okay, more realizations. Yes. See? We've got realization. No, you get a microphone for free.
Well, I just had a realization with your exercise for appreciation, because often I'll give appreciations, maybe Prabhupada disciples, and they'll be very humble, like, oh, no, and a little awkward silence. But I think with your exercise, I realize that I can still be like, keep going. I can keep going with my appreciations and compliments to people, even though they might be humble in the movement.
Thank you. It's a good point, and it is noticeable in the Bhāgyavān. You'll notice at the outset that the devotees were encouraging this brahmana, and he was saying, no, I'm not, or Narada was saying, you're the best devotee. And he said, oh no, I'm nothing, and he pointed to the next one. It's the nature of the devotees, but what it makes of us to appreciate other devotees is that we become, we take on their qualities. Okay, there's a couple more. Yes, in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have another point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
When I walked into the plenary on the 12th, and I saw the whole sum of all the devotees, 1100 supposedly, I sat on my chair and you were up on stage giving up the presentation, and I was like, we are part of a bigger ISKCON. And I realized how important the Sangha is. It's been 3 years since we had the ILS. The last ILS I had the same realization that everything I'm going through is this much as compared to what's going on out there. And this time when I walked into the plenary and I sat there, and I was like, wow, I don't want to be a frog anymore.
Give it a love. Okay. 2 more over here. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So whenever we do some seva as a devotee, when senior devotees or Diksha Guru appreciates it, it really encourages, and we aspire for advanced seva or the advanced progress. So that is really real encouragement from Diksha Guru or senior devotees, and it helps junior devotees to a larger extent. Thank you.
All the time devotees will remember the one word of encouragement they got from their spiritual master, from Prabhupada, from a senior devotee. It goes right into the heart, and it can stay there one's whole life. So you can't take it for granted. When you give a sincere appreciation, it goes a long way. Yes?
Hare Krishna. I've actually had a realization recently, is that actually every single living entity is a devotee, right? Because I feel that in our movement, there's this division of us versus them, of devotees versus karmis, or like a similar mentality. However, when you see that every single living entity is a devotee, then life becomes more optimistic. You feel like you genuinely want to help everyone develop their own Krishna consciousness.
Haribol. So, by the way, it does say in Krishna book at the wrestling arena that the devotees and all the people that there showed their appreciation by clapping. It's not illegal. I want to follow that up with some shastra. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmani vanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tatuna vijagupsate. The Sri Upanishad says that we should systematically see anupashyati, all living entities, as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord. So Prabhupada warns there, don't imitate an uttamanarikari, but systematically, according to Shastra, you should see like that. Now, I just want to stop for 1 second and notice what we're doing here right now. What are we doing? Encouraging. We're specifically sharing realizations, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a very important part of community building. When you have an assembly of devotees, some of them may have just entered the room, maybe their first time. And you have senior devotees have been midway. Then you get to hear from everyone. When you make sure that everyone has an opportunity in a safe environment to share what they're feeling, how the Krishna consciousness movement is affecting them. Sometimes I ask people when we do a japa session, when's the first time you heard the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra when it moved you? And then devotees will remember back, say, oh yeah, I got that one. I know when it was. And they'll say, and remember. And that instills faith in the heart of everyone else. Many years ago, my wife Nirkula and I started a program in our house in California. We lived far from a temple, so we had a weekly program, and just a few devotees would come over. But we had the same simple formula, just hearing and chanting and then having some discussion. And then the program got really big all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, after about a year. Should I tell you how it happened?
Yes.
My wife started cooking for it. While we were having those programs, it's a small place, and people were practically sitting on top of one another, but everyone wanted to come because it was an environment in which everyone could share their realizations. And I watched as people shared their realizations, which mostly were about how they were swimming in the ocean of material existence and struggling, but then they would start to talk about how getting together with the devotees and hearing and chanting was starting to improve their lives, and how they were able to deal with their situations individually. And I saw that the relationships that were formed there became the foundation to a larger community that we have now at ISKCON of Silicon Valley, where there's about 400 plus families who all congregate in the same place with a sense of mission. And one of the important principles for developing community is inculcation. And I'll read you the definition of inculcation. To instill an attitude, idea, or habit by persistent instruction. So the principles we've talked about up till now, hearing and chanting and encouragement, sharing realizations, are vital. They're actually the active ingredient. And then there's a way in which, through systematically bringing out the highest principle, as an example, in our programs at our home, where I mentioned it was a genesis for a larger expansion of community members, we had parameters that we wanted people not to bring in separate agendas and try to influence the group in a certain way or another that might divide them. So in other words, it was free space for people to share their realizations without other people judging them too harshly, and also we disallowed people coming in there with a purpose to pull people into another kind of enterprise, separate from just the hearing and chanting. And because of that, and because of bringing up the most important points over and over again, of staying in the mood of hearing and chanting together and being humble and so forth, this inculcation, after a while, in any community, it starts to take hold. And people feel that, yes, this is the norm, this is what we should do. And when you have that, this is what holds together a community, is the inculcation of high-minded values that are given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is the glue that holds together the community. Attitude. Attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically one that is reflected in a person's behavior. So attitudes develop because of inculcation. And when we come into an environment when we're teaching the attitudes that Krishna recommends in the Bhagavad Gita, then we have a growing sense of all working towards perfection by following the perfect authority, Krishna. And now, because this is a short flight, it's one of those flights that just takes off and then lands again. Well, I would like to ask you to ask a couple of questions. I'll take 3 in total, and I'll answer them in a minute or less, or your money back from this seminar. Hold on. Go ahead.
What are the most important 3 ingredients for building a sustainable community?
What are the 3 most important sustainable ingredients to build a sustainable community? First is hearing and chanting. Second is mission. Have a sense of mission. Third is to encourage everybody in the process. Om Tat Sat. And that was 22 seconds. Okay?
When you were building the community,
When we are building the community, do we still have a microphone runner? Microphone can be passed up here by cooperation. No, stay there. This is community here. We're a community. Let's see how we can work together and get the microphone to the next speaker in 7 seconds or less, or your money back from this seminar. Okay, go ahead. Tech support on aisle 1.
thank you. When you were building the community, how were you able to weed out destructive elements without causing distress to both the people in the group and those who left?
Such a good questions you ask. So, this is important, how we deal with people in general. And one of the ways is to use nonviolent communication, which means that don't ascribe intention to people. And tell them what has happened, the way that they've acted in a certain way, but don't say you meant to do this. You can in fact say, I know you didn't intend to do it, but this was the result, and this is what you could do better in the future. And Peter Burwash, who was a nice devotee, passed away recently, I'm sorry to say, had a very successful business all over the world, Peter Burwash International, and he got a lot of association with Prabhupada in Hawaii, who instructed him about business principles and so forth. He told me once that in his company, he always asked people when they joined, said, how do you like your criticism? If you have to be corrected, do you want to hear it right away? Do you want to hear it directly, indirectly, by letter, postcard, email, WhatsApp? So they're aware of the fact that they may get some sense of being corrected, and he's sensitive about it. Okay. The Kumbh Mela starting, or is this over? Oh. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And we welcome His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. Hare Krishna. Come on. There was one more question? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this so many wonderful points. Prabhuji, at last you were mentioning something about inculcation. Somehow I could not understand properly. If you can repeat that.
Yeah, it's a favorite word of mine. I love inculcation because, first of all, we're all Tatastha Shakti, correct? So Tatastha Shakti means open to suggestion. You may notice that if people associate with a certain group, after a while, they'll start talking like them, acting like them, believing what they believe. In fact, there's even a phenomenon called radicalization. If you get into extreme association or people have extreme values, then you can actually flip and become like them and do things that are not so harmonious with society. So the point is that inculcation means to have a very clear idea of what our ideals are and to mention them on a regular basis. So there's a way in which when we talk about what's most important, here's an example. We may say, it's more important how we do something than what we do. That means that the way that we work together to achieve something is more important than the end result. So there's a way that we have to, on a regular basis, remember why we're here and why we're doing this, and go teach according to what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions some qualities like being a kind friend to all living beings, not being dependent on the ordinary course of activities, not becoming your enemy's enemy. So in the course of us building our movement and our mission, if we remind one another over and over again how important it is to maintain these qualities as we're doing something together, then this is called inculcation. And you'll notice that when we are inculcating a particular value or message, then people's attitudes start to reform and change and come into that sense that this is the right way to do it. So this is inculcation. Yes?
No, you said, wait, can you unpack how having...
Our camera person is asking a question.
Can you unpack that statement you made about having a mission? I mean, because if you're talking about building a temple community, in this community, we pretty much, we join a mission. But how does that specifically work to build a harmonious...
The best way I've found is to get together with those who are the leaders in the community and talk about it. And one of the techniques that everybody knows about, but it may not realize how miraculous it is brainstorming. When you get together with those who are similarly interested in making progress and you decide to talk about all the ways in which you want to make progress and what your priorities are and what you'd like to achieve, you can come up with a list that is congruous and that everyone has consensus about. And once you have that list, that becomes your constitution. There have been whole nations that have held together, more or less, because of a constitution, like the United States of America. If you go to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., you can see the original document. People took time to write down, here are our values. Have you ever read it? We won't quiz you on it, just say yes or no. Okay, we will have a quiz, I'm just kidding. No. So, that document there, the original document, they took time, they had an assembly, they came together, they wrote down, here's what we believe in. And then they said, this is what we're going to do about it, and then they all signed it. And now it's there for everyone to read, and that's what holds the country together. So we similarly in every community have to have a sense that this is why we're doing this. And when you have that mission, Prabhupada said to Kṛṣṇa that you should always have a fresh challenge for people to want to rise up and meet. And so when you have a sense of mission, then you can set goals. For instance, the community we come from called ISV, it's all grihastas. And we have lots of kids. But we have this sense that everyone's eligible. Everyone can be empowered. Everyone can be part. Everyone has upward mobility. And then we have a sense of goals. For instance, we've focused a lot on book distribution. And every time we set a goal, since the very beginning when we started setting goals, the first larger goal we set early on, which seems minuscule now, was to all together do 100 books over a weekend or something like that. And some of the devotees came to me and said, maybe that's a little too high, maybe you're pushing a little too hard or something like that. And then I wrote an article and I put it on Dandavats called, I forget what it was called, The Magic of Thinking Big or something. Maybe that's already a book. But that was the idea behind it. And then we actually went past the goal, and then there was a sense of, wow, how did that happen? Could we do it again? And in having a mission and something, a fresh challenge to always try to rise up and meet that fresh challenge, there's this sense that we're not doing it. And this is what enlivens devotees in a community, is to feel that we're, in our collective work together, we're channeling the will of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Parampara. And whatever kind of reasonable goal that we set based on our capacity right now to increase, they'll help us. They're the ones that are doing it. That's what makes the movement exciting, is taking a risk every month, or even every day, or every year. But some risk, some sense of tension has to be there in the community because of this sense of mission, that we're going somewhere, we're achieving together. And then celebrating the results together of whatever the mission is, so it's demonstrative in the community. Then everyone gets the idea, oh yes, this is what we're doing together here. And it creates this sense of community, that we have a common cause we're working towards. Does anybody have another question, just to finish it out? Yes, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Praji, you mentioned the three important ingredients for community building: hearing and chanting, mission, and encourage. So my question is, Prabhuji, that if some devotee, he is very good in all three, say he is very absorbed in hearing and chanting, he has mission, he is able to understand that there is a mission of whatever we have given by Pondaracharya and Vartamana Acharyas, and he is very encouraging and appreciating. So what is the role of, somebody may not be having so much of organizational skills, or he may not be a very strategic planner, or managerial skills kind of thing. He may be more spontaneous kind of person, but he actually is rooted in hearing, chanting, mission and encouragement. He has feelings for mission, he's encouraging, he's very much for hearing and chanting. So what way that person could be a very good community builder? What role he could play? How he could be doing that? What way should be going ahead?
Prabhupada said to Kṛṣṇa in the letter that I referenced a few minutes ago, that one should create an environment in which devotees do devotional service that's individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. Let's say it together. Individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. The letters are ISV. So that's actually the inner meaning of our community. But everybody has a different style. They're all individuals. So we have to be able to accommodate different kinds of people. And some people may not be the top leader or be creating a vision or something like that. But if there's spontaneity in somebody's service, then it enlivens everybody else. In other words, a community is a community should accommodate the different individual preferences for devotional service in various ways. Everyone has an individual taste for devotional service. So encouraging people is in exploring that is helpful. Yes? Okay, last one.
So should I ask or?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhu, so that is understandable to me that encouragement should be there in the community. But like suppose the person, now he is having that role to play as a community leader, and should he work on developing certain managerial skills, and could he be also trained that way?
Yes, definitely. There's many ways in which people can learn skills that will help them manage better. For instance, there are time management skills that can be used. There's ways to chart things out so that you actually get them done. Like project management is really important. So you have to be able to look and see how far along are we and what's the date we're going to finish and so forth. So if a person doesn't have that knowledge and technology, then it's a good idea to have it. We just can't lose sight of the spontaneous part, though, because when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was in Ottadanga, do you know about Ottadanga? It was a very rundown place. They moved out of Māyāpur to come preach in the city, and when they got to Calcutta, all they could afford was a very rundown place. And the devotees were excited to be there in the big city, going out and preaching all the time. They didn't have very many resources. And then later on, things got more sophisticated. And they got a big temple, the Bagh Bazaar temple. And at that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noticed that the spontaneous spirit started to go down a little bit, or a lot. And then he said that we were better off in Ottadanga. And he also told his disciple, Charana Arvinda, that better we sell the marble off the temple and buy some books, print them. So there's always this sense of a cart before the horse. If you don't have the spontaneous and sense of mission, then when you only have the managerial, then what you get is managing on a plateau, and you manage a bunch of problems that never go away. But when you have this sense of mission first, and we're actually going somewhere, and then you manage the results of that, then what you get is the proper placement of management. It's meant to manage the results of our preaching. So Prabhupada said that the management should follow preaching like a shadow. So the main thing is the main thing. And the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is hearing and chanting. It's encouraging, spontaneous. Lots of people come by that say, I can do that. Like when we hold the brainstorming session, we start getting good ideas. Humans love good ideas. You see good ideas like, I can do that. I know how to do that. I learned how to do that. It's like, you're hired. And like, me? It's like, you're in charge. Take it up. So, this is, when you don't have to have everyone fit in the same category. If some people are more spontaneous, find a place for them to do a service that's more spontaneous. They can learn other things, but I always find that when we have a clear mission and goal and we start brainstorming for how we're going to do it, then always somebody raises their hand, or several people, and they say, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And they naturally start to go into those roles, and then you can empower people. And that's a really important aspect of community building, is empowering. Prabhupada did it all the time. There's a lecture at UC Berkeley campus where some devotees were really excited about talking to the academic community. And they were walking with Prabhupada trying to keep up, and they were telling all their ideas, and Prabhupada just looked at them and he said, do it! And so Prabhupada had this way of appointing people right on the spot based on their spontaneity. And then, of course, all the other stuff can be filled in later. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatiya kinshana sarvargunas tatra samasita. It doesn't mean don't look at a management book, but it does mean if you preach, good things are going to happen, and all the types of people that you need to help fulfill the roles are going to come in. And if you try to do it the other way, You'd be sitting around complaining all day long. Why is this thing not moving? Why doesn't it work?